The glass prison the dust had not moved in years. Deep under the ruins of a forgotten alien city, the old research lab lay still. Broken machines, shattered panels, and lifeless walls stretched across the underground chamber. Only one thing remained. Untouched in the center, a large glass capsule, glowing faintly with blue light. Inside, a girl floated, unmoving. Alive. She had not aged in hundreds of years. No one remembered her. No one came back. The war that had once raged across the galaxy had ended long ago, and her prison had been sealed, forgotten like a closed book, until... Now. Boots echoed down the cracked hallway, slow, careful steps. A human scavenger named Reed Vos moved through the dark, his flashlight cutting through the silence. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a hero. He was just looking for parts to sell. Old tech. Scrap metal. Maybe something rare to trade for food. But what he found was not old junk. His light stopped on the glass capsule. His breath caught. What the hell? He stepped closer, brushing dust from the label near the control panel. The writing wasn't in any human language, but the system had. An old translator. The screen flickered. Subject. A HFY 7. Status. Alive. Security class. Omega. Do not open. Reed frowned. The girl inside looked strange, but not in a frightening way. She had soft silver skin, long pale hair that floated like silk in the fluid, and pointed ears. Her body was curled gently, like she was dreaming. She's not human, Reed whispered to himself. But she's not a monster either. He tapped on the glass. Nothing happened, but then her eyes opened, glowing violet. Reed jumped back, heart pounding. The girl blinked slowly. She looked at him, though, through him. Her lips didn't move, but somehow he heard a whisper in his mind. Help. Reed stared, frozen. The air in the room seemed to grow colder. Then the lights above them flickered, and for the first time in centuries, the control panel beeped. Countdown began. Emergency wake-up initiated. What the no? I didn't touch anything. Reed backed up, watching as the glass cracked slightly, steam hissing out. Alarms began to scream. Red lights spun across the room. Ancient speakers crackled. Warning. Containment breach. The girl's body dropped gently as the capsule opened. She collapsed forward straight into Reed's arms. She was light, ice-cold, and barely breathing. Hey, stay with me. Reed shook her gently. Her skin was cold like stone, but her chest rose and fell. Behind him, the walls rumbled, hidden. Doors opened. Metal drones with blinking red eyes rolled out from the shadows. Target acquired. Containment protocol resume. Hell no. Reed lifted her up and ran. He didn't know who she was. He didn't know why she was locked away. But in that 1 second, when her eyes met his, he knew she wasn't evil. And now they were both in danger. The hallway behind him exploded. A blast nearly threw him to the ground. He turned and fired his small plasma cutter, sparks flying, but the drones were fast. The girl stirred. Her fingers twitched. Her lips parted slightly. More whispers filled Reed's mind. She was trying to speak, but something was blocking her. Fear? Pain? Or was she still waking up? Hold on, Reed whispered, gripping her tighter. I'm getting you out. He reached the surface hatch, slammed his palm on the control, and the door opened to a dead, dusty sky. The ruins of the alien city stretched around them like grave. Markers. Reed ran to his ship, panting, dodging laser shots behind him. As he reached the ramp, the girl suddenly gasped. Her eyes flared white, and a wave of invisible energy shot from her body. The nearest drone slammed into the wall and shattered. Then she passed out again. Reed stared, shaking. Okay, you're definitely not normal. He strapped her in and took off. As his ship lifted from the ground, the ruins below lit up again. An old signal, reactivated by her awakening, began broadcasting across the stars. She was no longer Forgotten. Someone somewhere had noticed she was awake. And they were coming. Reed sat in his small ship, staring at the strange alien girl lying across the passenger bench. She hadn't moved in over an hour. Her skin still looked cold, almost glass-like. But her breathing was steady now. Gentle, calm. He leaned back, eyes wide, mind racing. "What are you?" he whispered. He had seen many things in the ruins of dead worlds, war machines, alien weapons, forgotten AI cores. But never a girl trapped in a glowing glass prison, still alive after centuries. She didn't look like a weapon. She looked like someone who had been left behind. He reached for a blanket and gently covered her small frame. She didn't respond, but her fingers curled slightly at the warmth. Reed's ship floated through quiet space now, away from the ruined world and into the edge of the expanse. No comms, no trackers. He needed to think. Needed to understand what he had just brought on board. The ship's assistant AI beeped. Unknown biological presence detected. Scanning ... He rolled his eyes. Yeah, no kidding. The AI's voice continued. Species unknown. DNA contains human fragments. Hybrid detected. Heart rate stable. Psi-signature ... elevated. Warning. Subject may possess telepathic abilities. Reed frowned. Telepathic? That's how she spoke to me. He stared at her again. Her face was peaceful now. Pale lashes, soft features. But her body had marked strange faded lines on her arms, her back, her neck. Scars? Experiments? Someone had tested her. Hurt her ... and then locked her away. Suddenly, she twitched. Her eyes opened again, slow, glowing, faint purple. She didn't sit up, just looked at him. "I remember light," she whispered, her voice like dry wind. Reed leaned in. "Hey, you're safe. You're on my ship." She blinked slowly. "You are not like them." He tilted his head. "Them who?" She closed her eyes for a second, her breath shaky. "The ones who made the cage. They called me a mistake. I wasn't supposed to feel. But I did, so they locked me in." Reed's heart tightened. Why would they do that? She tried to sit up but winced. Her muscles were still stiff. "Because I cried. Because I screamed. They said weapons shouldn't cry." That hit Reed like a punch. She wasn't just forgotten. She had been punished for having emotions. He helped her sit, offering her water. She held the bottle like she wasn't sure what to do with it. "Do you remember your name?" he asked gently. She shook her head. "No, just Alpha 7. That's not a name, that's a code," he frowned. "I'm going to call you something else." She looked at him curiously. "What is your name?" "Reed," he said. Her voice softened. "Reed." The moment was quiet, too quiet. Then, suddenly, the ship's alarm shrieked. "Incoming signal, hostile lock, tracking system reactivated." Reed ran to the console. "What?" I turned off everything. On the screen, red lights blinked. A signal was coming from the surface of the planet they had escaped. It wasn't just a normal transmission, it was a ping. Someone had activated the old lab's emergency beacon. "Whoever locked you in just told the galaxy you're awake." Reed muttered. She stood shakily, holding the wall. "They'll come. They'll send others. They always do. But why? Why not just leave you alone?" "Because I wasn't made to live," she said, her voice bitter now. "I was made to destroy." Then they saw my tears and feared me. Reed turned to her, jaw tight. "I don't care what they say you were made for. You're alive. You deserve to be free." For the first time, her lips trembled, not in fear, but something else. Hope. But it vanished quickly when another warning beeped. "Vessel approaching. Unknown origin. 5 minutes to contact." Reed swore under his breath. "I knew it. That beacon wasn't just a warning, it was a trap. Whoever wants you, they're already on their way." "Alpha 7, no." The girl closed her eyes. "You should leave me." I don't want them to hurt you too. Reed shook his head. Not happening. You're with me now. She looked at him. Voice small. Why? He answered without thinking. Because no one deserves to be caged for crying. Her fingers curled around the blanket. Her eyes glowed again. This time, not with fear, with something stronger. Maybe she had been made as a weapon. But now she was something else. And Reed had just given her the first reason to fight back. The sky outside turned dark as the hostile ship dropped out of hyperspace. Reed's heart beat faster as he watched the scanner. The unknown vessel was sleek, fast, and already charging its weapons. Its symbol flickered on the screen, a twisted silver ring with 7 slashes across it, the same mark that had been etched into the glass capsule. They found you. Reed whispered. The alien girl, still wrapped in the blanket, stood beside him now. She didn't speak. She just stared at the ship's image with a strange, distant look. Like she'd seen that symbol in her nightmares. Reed reached for the controls. We're not fighting them. Not like this. We're running. The girl nodded, eyes fixed on the screen. They'll chase. They always chase. He punched the engines and the ship roared forward, jumping between asteroid fields and broken moons. The enemy ship followed instantly. They're faster. Reed growled, but not smarter. He spun the ship sharply through a narrow crevice in a floating rock cluster. Metal scraped the hull. Sparks flew. But they made it through. Behind them, the enemy ship clipped one of the rocks and slowed. For a moment, it looked like they'd lost them, until the girl's voice whispered again, quiet, but clear. They won't stop. Reed looked at her. Then, we stay one step ahead. Suddenly the ship trembled. Not from damage, but from something else. A strange pressure. Reed gripped the controls, but the lights dimmed. System disruption. What now? The girl's hands were glowing. Reed turned sharply. What are you doing? Her voice shook. I don't know. It's happening again. Then her glow faded, and she fell to her knees. Red caught her just in time. She was shaking. I felt them, she said. I felt their minds. They're not just chasing. They're afraid, not of you, of me. Reed helped her sit down. What are they afraid you'll do? She looked up at him, eyes wide. Remember. Reed's ship made it to the edge of a dying star system. He hid behind the wreckage of an old warship, masking their signal. The girl rested now, but her breathing was uneven. Sweat ran down her temples. Reed sat beside her, holding a small cup of water to her lips. Drink, you're burning up. She took a small sip, then looked at him, voice barely a whisper. Something inside me is waking up. Reed was silent. The more she spoke, the more he realized she didn't even understand what she was. She wasn't just a prisoner. She was a mystery, one that scared even her creators. Back on the planet, he said, you pushed that drone without touching it. And just now, you interfered with the ship's systems. What is that power? She shook her head. It's not power, it's pain. Everything I feel, it leaks out. When I cry, machines melt. When I'm scared, they break. Reed sat back, stunned. Her emotions controlled energy. And they'd locked her in glass to contain her feelings. That's why they caged you, he said. Not because you were dangerous, but because they made you that way and couldn't control it. She nodded slowly. I used to smile, she said, voice soft. Before the tests. Before they stripped my name away. I used to sing, but then I screamed, and they told me no more. They said, a weapon doesn't weep. Reed's jaw clenched. You're not a weapon, he said. You're a girl who was hurt by people too afraid to face what they did. She looked at him again. Then why aren't you afraid of me? He didn't answer right away, because he had been. When she pushed the drone, when the glass cracked, when her eyes lit up. But now, all he saw was someone who needed a chance. I'm afraid of losing good people, he said. And you seem like one of them. Her eyes welled with silent tears, but the ship didn't shake this time. No energy burst. Just quiet warmth that she was learning control. The scanner beeped again. The enemy ship had returned. Reed cursed. They're sweeping the system. We have to run again, she said. No, he said. We need help. He pulled up an old contact Tarsa 9, a neutral outpost at the edge of trade routes. He knew a fixer there who owed him favors. Girl touched his arm. They'll put a bounty on you. Reed smirked. I'm used to that. She tilted her head. Why do this for me? He thought for a moment, then replied, because I've seen cages. Not all of them are made of glass. And no one helped me when I needed it. She leaned her head on his shoulder. I remember now, she whispered. They called me Leary. That was my name, Reed smiled. It's a good name. Leary closed her eyes. Thank you for letting me say it again. The ship launched toward Tarsa 9, toward danger. This, but also toward hope. And this time, she wasn't running alone. The neon rings of Tarsa 9 glowed like fireflies in space. Reed's ship slowly approached the old station. It wasn't pretty, just rusted metal, half-working lights, and too many secrets floating in its gravity field. But for the right people, it was home. For people like him, scavengers, outlaws, and those running from something, it was a safe stop. Leary stood beside him, wrapped in a jacket too big for her. Her violet eyes scanned the view outside, unsure, cautious. Are you sure we can trust anyone here? She asked softly. Reed gave a tired smile. No, but if anyone can help us disappear, it's the fixer here. Name's Corvain. Saved his life. Once. Hopefully he still remembers. The docking clamps hissed as they landed. Reed turned to Leary. Keep your head down. These people notice everything. Leary nodded, but her eyes shimmered with strange light. Inside the station, the air was thick with smoke and noise. Alien traders argued over metal parts. Tall reptilian guards stood near doors, holding guns too big for one man. Bright signs flashed in languages Reed didn't speak. Everyone looked like they didn't want to be found. Reed walked fast, pulling Leary gently along. Her fingers gripped his jacket tightly. People stared, but only for a second. Then they looked away. No one asked questions here. They reached a dark bar at the edge of the upper level. Reed stepped inside and found him. Corvain was older now, with half a mechanical face and glowing orange eyes. He looked up from his drink. Reed Voss, I thought you were dead. Close a few times, Reed said. Need a favor. Corvain's eyes shifted to Leary. He stood slowly. What is she? She's not a weapon, Reed said quickly. She's just a girl who needs help. Corvain narrowed his eyes. You always find trouble, Voss. Please, Leary said quietly. I just want to live. Her voice had something in it, a quiet sadness that silenced the room for a second. Corvain stared, then sighed. Come with me. In a hidden room behind the bar, Corvain scanned Leary with old tech. Her readings blinked red. Her DNA is locked. Half human, half something rare. Experimental splicing, psi genes, emotional transference. She's government made. No, Leary whispered. I wasn't made. I was born. They only changed me later. Reed watched her carefully. Her eyes had no anger. Just pain. She remembers now, he said. Her name is Leary, and she doesn't want to hurt anyone. Corvain leaned back. You don't get it. She's valuable. The kind of valuable that gets bounty hunters rich. Her signal's active. You've already been found. Reed stood up. Then turn it off. Erase her ID. I can mask it, Corvain said. But if the original creators want her back, they'll send someone worse than hunters. Leary looked up slowly. They already have. Hours later, Reed walked the station's dark corridors with Leary. The new ID tag Corvain gave her buzzed lightly on her wrist. She looked at the strange symbols. This name, it says I'm someone else now. You are someone else, Reed said. Someone free. But just as they turned the corner, a low sound echoed behind them. Metal footsteps. Reed pushed Leary behind him. A figure appeared in the hallway, tall, cloaked with armor that shimmered like oil. No eyes showed, only a glowing mark on the forehead. "The 7 slashes, return the specimen," the voice said. Mechanical, cold. Lir, I froze. I know that voice. It was there when they locked me up. The figure stepped forward. "You were meant to sleep forever. Your heart is unstable. You are not safe." "I'm not your prisoner anymore," Leary said, trembling. The figure raised a weapon. "Do not resist." Reed fired first. His blaster shot hit the figure's chest, but it didn't fall. It didn't even move. The energy was absorbed into the armor. Leary grabbed Reed's arm. "We can't fight it." "Not like this." "Then how?" he asked, backing up fast. She looked around, then lifted her hand. The lights in the hallway flickered. The figure paused. Leary's eyes turned white. Not just glowing, but burning. The air shimmered with invisible pressure. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. But her fear rolled out like a wave. The figure was thrown backwards, smashing into a wall. Sparks flew. For a second it stopped moving. Reed stared, stunned. But Leary fell to her knees again, exhausted. Her power faded. He picked her up, heart pounding. "Come on, we're leaving." They ran through the station as alarms began to sound. Someone had seen the fight. The security teams would come. And behind them others. Worse ones. Reed carried her onto the ship, blasted off, and jumped into deep space. As the stars stretched around them, Leary spoke. "They sent one of their own," she whispered. "They don't want me destroyed. They want me returned." "Why?" Reed asked. Leary looked down. "Because I was their greatest mistake." The stars outside the ship flickered like quiet sparks. But Reed couldn't stop thinking about the armored figure from the Fager. Apatvu King von Tufa von Storm Station. They hadn't sent a bounty hunter. They'd sent one of their own. He looked over at Leary, who now rested on the floor beside the ship's heating vent, curled beneath a blanket, her skin still pale, her lips trembling even though the temperature was warm. She wasn't crying. She just looked lost. Reed walked over and knelt beside her. "Are you okay?" he asked. She didn't answer at first. Then she said softly, "It hurts, inside, like something is pulling at me from the past. Something I can't see, but it knows me." Reed placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "We'll figure it out together." She looked at him with tired eyes. "Why do you keep helping me?" Reed gave her a faint smile. "Because someone should have helped you a long time ago." He needed answers. Real ones. There was only one person he knew who could break alien genetic locks. A human exobiologist named Dr. Mara Kane, once a lead scientist for the Union. Now in hiding on a quiet moon called Lafis 4. She had vanished after refusing to work on weaponized hybrids. When Reed sent a coded message, she replied with only 3 words: "Bring the girl." Lafis 4 was a quiet place, covered in thick fog and wild forests. The landing pad was hidden under tall trees. Dr. Mara stood waiting, her dark coat flapping in the wind, a scanner in one hand and a rifle slung over her back. She didn't smile. "She's inside?" Mara asked. Reed nodded. "Sleeping, mostly." Mara led him to her underground lab, old but clean, filled with machines humming low. "This place is off-grid. If someone tracks her here, it'll be because of you." "She's not dangerous," Reed said quickly. Mara raised a brow. "You sure?" "She's scared," he replied. "And they hurt her." Mara's face softened a bit. "Then let's find out what they did." Leary lay on a medical bed, eyes open but quiet, as wires and scanners surrounded her. Dr. Mara worked quickly, her hands careful, never rough. After a long silence, The doctor finally looked up at Reed. She's not just hybrid, Mara said. Her DNA was rewritten after birth, human base, alien mother. Modified by advanced tech. Her blood holds memory cells, living codes. Codes for what? Reed asked. Mara tapped the screen. For controlling psionic fields. Emotional waves. She was designed to connect with machines and minds. But not to follow orders, to feel. That's what scared them. Leary whispered, I was their prototype. But when I cried, it infected their systems. I made their computers feel what I felt. Mara sat beside her. And what did they feel? Leary looked away. Fear, regret, pain. They called it a virus. They said I was broken. Reed leaned against the wall, fists clenched. They didn't understand her, so they locked her away. Mara nodded slowly. She's the first of her kind, and maybe the only one. Then she added, but there's more. Her blood is changing, evolving. Leary looked confused. Evolving? Mara turned. The screen. Her cells are learning to balance her emotions. She's not just dangerous anymore. She's becoming stable. Reed smiled faintly. She's growing. But then Mara's face darkened. That also means someone else will want her back more than ever. That night, Leary sat on the edge of the cliff outside the lab, watching the stars. Reed joined. Her, bringing 2 steaming cups of borrowed soup. You okay? He asked. She nodded but didn't speak. He handed her the cup. Mara says your body is changing, getting stronger. Leary looked at her hands. I still don't know who I am. You're Leary, Reed said. And you're free. She looked at him then. But what if I break again? What if my pain hurts others? Reed was silent for a moment. Then he spoke gently. Then I'll be there. To remind you, you're not alone. She leaned against his shoulder, her voice barely a whisper. They called me a mistake. But you treat me like I matter. You do matter. For the first time, she smiled. It was small, fragile, but real. Inside the lab, Dr. Mara watched the readings on her screen. Her eyes narrowed. Something in Leary's DNA was lighting up again, reacting to something nearby. Not fear, not pain. Protection. And far beyond the trees, at the edge of the atmosphere. Another ship had just arrived. It carried no bounty signal, only silence. But inside it were creatures of shadowed armor and glowing eyes. Her creators had found her again, but this time they wouldn't be facing a scared girl in a cage. They would be facing someone becoming whole. Asterisk. The sky above Loftus 4 turned red at the edges. From the top of the cliff, Reed could see a strange glow bleeding through. The clouds slow and steady, like a sunrise that didn't belong. It wasn't light from the moon's sun. It was engine fire. A ship, big and quiet. He raised his communicator to Dr. Mara. We've got company. Inside the lab, Mara already knew. She stood over her console, eyes locked on the readings. One ship. Cloaked until now. No ID, no communication. No warning. Leary stepped in from the hallway, still barefoot, her long silver hair tangled. They're here for me. Reed looked at her. How do you know? I feel them, she whispered, in the air. In my chest. She placed a hand against the wall. The lights flickered, not because of damage, but because of her. Mara watched her closely. Your power is active. Even when you're calm, Leary nodded. Because I've stopped hiding. Within minutes, the first blast hit the outer ridge. The mountain shook. Rocks tumbled down into the forest below. Reed and Mara locked the doors. The lab's defenses were minimal. A few energy shields, one plasma turret. This place was never meant for war. We need to run, Reed said. Mara snapped. Run where? We'll never make it to orbit before they shoot us down. We don't have to fight them, Leary said. Not with guns. Reed turned to her. Then how? She looked at him, her voice steady. With myself. Outside, the enemy ship hovered low and silent. It didn't fire again. Instead, something worse stepped out. A tall creature, not quite human, not quite machine. Its armor pulsed like it was alive. Its voice boomed into the valley. "Return the construct. No one else will be harmed." Reed muttered, "They always lie." Inside the lab, Leary placed his hand on the glass window. "They don't see me as a person. Just a design that failed." Mara asked carefully, "What do you want to do?" Leary looked down. "I want them to know I'm not theirs anymore." Reed stepped forward. "You're not going alone." But she turned to him, gently, and smiled. "You're the reason I woke up. You're the first person who spoke to me like I mattered. I need to protect that. You." He grabbed her hand. "We do it together." Leary squeezed his fingers. "Then let's end this." Mara gave them what little she had, a portable psi booster. "It'll focus her energy, but it'll drain her fast." Reed took a plasma rifle and followed Leary as she walked toward the cliff edge. She didn't glow. She didn't rage. She simply breathed. Below them, the armored figure waited. Reed raised his rifle. "Back off." The figure ignored him. It spoke only to her. "You are malfunctioning. Come peacefully." Leary walked closer. "No, I am healing." The air around her began to ripple. Wind shifted. Grass bent. The sky dimmed as if the stars held their breath. "I was built from pain," she said. "But now I choose something else." The armored figure took one step forward, and everything stopped. Time itself seemed to freeze. Then Leary raised her hands. A pulse exploded from her body, silent, beautiful, like a heartbeat turned into light. It washed across the field, pushing the figure back, pushing the ship itself off the ground. Reed shielded his face. The machine screamed. The trees shook. And then, silence. When Reed opened his eyes, the armored figure was gone. The ship was empty. Its systems shut down, its power erased. Leary stood in the center of the field, alone, glowing from within. But her legs gave out. Reed rushed to catch her. She fell into his arms, eyes fluttering. "Leary, stay with me." She smiled faintly. "I didn't break this time. You saved us. I just wanted to be free." Her glow faded slowly. Her breathing slowed. "Stay awake," he whispered, but she was already drifting. Back in the lab, Dr. Mara hooked her to every machine she had. Her vitals were weak but present. "She used too much," Mara said. "Her body wasn't ready." "Will she live?" Reed asked, his voice rough. Mara looked at the screen. "She fought her creators and won, but she gave everything." Reed sat beside the bed, holding Leary's hand in both of his. She didn't stir, didn't speak. He leaned closer and whispered, "You're not a mistake. You never were." And then her fingers twitched. Outside, the sky cleared. The stars were bright again, and Leary, who had once been a forgotten girl in a glass prison, had chosen sacrifice over fear. She was no longer a weapon. She was someone who had survived. Leary slept for 2 days. Reed never left her side. He barely ate, barely slept. He just sat near the bed, holding her hand, watching the slow, steady rise and fall of her chest. Her skin was no longer ice cold. The strange glow had faded, but not completely. It shimmered lightly beneath the surface of her skin, like a fire waiting to be lit again. Dr. Mara walked in quietly and placed a fresh data chip on the table. "All scans are complete." What she did, it's impossible. She didn't just push back the attackers. She rewrote the energy field around this entire moon. Their ship still won't restart. Reed looked up. "Will she wake?" Mara nodded softly. "She's strong. She just needs time." Leary woke on the 3rd morning. She opened her eyes slowly and saw light, shining through the cracks in the ceiling. Warm, soft, real. And then she saw Reed curled up on the floor next to her, sleeping with his back against the wall, still holding her hand. She smiled. When she spoke, her voice was small but clear. "You stayed." He jolted awake, blinking. Then his tired face turned to pure joy. "Leary," she sat up slowly. "I thought I was gone." "You almost were," he said, voice shaking. "But you came back." She looked at him with quiet wonder. "I felt your voice in the dark, like a thread pulling me home." He reached out and touched her cheek. "You are home." Later that evening, the three of them sat around a small table in the lab. Mara showed Leary the data chip. "This is everything I learned about you," she said. "Your DNA, your mind, your past, and how you broke free from it." Leary didn't look away. "Is it dangerous?" Mara shook her head. "Only if it falls into the wrong hands, but I've locked it. You choose what to do with it." Leary held the chip. It was small, light, but heavy with meaning. She stood and walked to the incinerator at the back of the lab. With steady hands, she dropped the chip in. Flames flickered blue, and then it was gone. "No more cages," she said. "No more secrets." That night, they stood together under the stars. Leary wore a simple jacket, and her hair blew in the wind. She looked different now. Not because of her powers or her past, but because she had chosen who she wanted to be. Free, alive. Reed stood beside her, quiet. "What will you do now?" She looked at him. "I don't know. I've never had a future before. Just tests." Or silence. He smiled. "Well, how about starting small? Come with me." She turned to him. "Where?" "Anywhere," he said. "Everywhere. The galaxy's broken, but maybe we can help fix a piece of it." Her eyes warmed. "Together?" He nodded. "Always." She slipped her hand into his dot. In the following days, news began to spread in the deep corners of the galaxy. Not loud broadcasts, just whispers, quiet reports. A shut-down government lab. An energy weapon that didn't fire. A hybrid girl once thought lost seen walking free with a human beside her. Some feared her return, others prayed for it. But one thing was certain, she was no longer forgotten. Months passed. Leary and Reed traveled from world to world, helping repair old refugee stations, rebuilding settlements, and rescuing others caught between machines and monsters. Leary didn't hide anymore. She used her gift, but only when needed. She didn't destroy. She healed, reached out to broken minds, stopped violence with nothing but a quiet voice and glowing eyes. Where once people saw a weapon, now they saw hope. The girl who was born in a cage had become a symbol of freedom. One day, while camping beneath the twin moons of Vea, Reed asked her quietly, "Do you ever think about going back, facing the ones who made you?" She thought for a long time before answering. "No," she said. "They already lost, not when I escaped. But when I chose not to become what they built." He smiled. "You chose your own story," she nodded. "And you were the first page." They sat in silence, watching the stars. Later, as the fire crackled low, she leaned into him and whispered, "Do you believe someone like me can be loved?" Reed looked into her soft violet eyes. "You already are." And in that quiet moment, no machines chased them, no ships hunted, no voices demanded her return. There was only the night, the stars, and two souls who had once been alone and were no longer. The end.